we welcome you all to the next series of Veer Mark, which is episode 9, where we are discussing a very different career opportunity this time, which is called paleontology. Don't know how many of you have heard of it, but I'm sure the ones who've joined in have a basic idea and it interests you. That is why you're here. So I, Neha Vahi, on behalf of Career Launcher, welcome each one of you, and I hope that this becomes a very fruitful session because we've got to you a young paleontologist, as you can already see up there, a little girl who's very passionate about what she's doing. Very quickly, I'd like to introduce Asmita Biju, a young paleontologist of India who's leading young minds and others towards the rare field of paleontology. A zealous field worker who has collected 136 specimens of fossils, of vertebrates, invertebrates, chordates, microfossil, and flora, and has worked in three fossil beds of India, namely Kaveri, Godavari, and the Palar River Basin. She has, so far, she has educated almost 7,000 students of schools, colleges, research institutes, and others in India. As you can see, she's educating children or youth which are even double her age. She receives a good number of visitors to her self-arranged tiny museum where she has two different compartments. She says one is called zoology, the living fossils, another for paleontology. Asmita also maintains a blog where people all around the globe who are interested could learn proven facts about each organism in specific and drafts comic stories and poems related to fossils, geological timeline, periods and evolution of Earth with comic strips, etc. So young children could learn and gain knowledge about paleontology and fossils in an easier way. It's such a pleasure to have you with us, Asmita. I know you're busy with school and the other things that you do, and you've yet taken out time to speak to a lot of young students who are interested in this field. So we welcome you once again and thank you for being here.
Welcome, ma'am.
All right. So with this, I think we'll quickly start the interview because there are a series of questions which have already come to us from the audience. They are pre-collected. And Asmita, let's start with one question that is on everybody's mind. What is paleontology? If you could throw some light, please.
Yes, ma'am. Respected all, this is Asmita Biju. I'm a young paleontologist of India doing 9th grade. So far, I've collected nearly 136 fossil specimens and I've educated nearly 7,500 students and others globally regarding the unfamiliar field of paleontology and less known key resources called fossils. So when it comes to the question, what is paleontology? Foremostly, I'll introduce you to the field of paleontology. Paleontology is a field where we study about prehistoric animals, prehistoric conditions that is defined as paleoecology, paleotemperature, paleomorphology, paleozoology, etc. So we study about these through the key resources called fossils. This is the field of paleontology normally, and paleontologists are researchers who study about fossils and decode the unknown and rare facts, true facts about these organisms that lived millions of years ago. And one more thing, we have nearly 7 branches inside the field of paleontology: paleozoology, paleobotany, paleobiology, micropaleontology, paleoiconology, paleontology, and paleozoology. So these are the branches. According to these 7 branches, we study and we do research, the paleontologists do research on different kinds of fossils that comes under the categories. Paleontology is the one and only field where we would be able to understand the past, present, and future condition of our Earth. Because past is the condition when organisms started to evolve and led to the evolution of humans till date. And present is the conditions of human survival and how are we occupying Earth and how is Earth being under our control. Number 3 for future is with these understanding past and present conditions will be able to define the future. How would our future be? If we continue exploiting the resources, what would be our Earth's situation in the near future? And if we maintain the peace between both biotic and abiotic factors by going with the terms and rules of a nature kingdom, how peaceful would our Earth be? This is commonly the field of paleontology, and the main resources that play a vital role for understanding each and every fact are fossils.
Excellent. I think the way you've explained this shows how passionate you're about this field. Because at this age, in-depth knowledge about the field, the various specializations, and how it can affect our future is great to know. But this also raises a common concern, a question that must again be in in everybody's mind. How did you develop interest in this field? How did you get to know? Because you're very young yourself, and you started some time back. It's not very new for you. You've been doing this for some time. How did you stumble upon this path, and how did you get here?
So my interest towards the field of paleontology did not rise just like a like a star bloom, sorry, a flower blooming in one particular season. It started since my age 2. So since I was born, my character is basically being adventurous, knowing new things, and I always have a form of curiosity that develops if I see something new. In that case, since age 2, I used to play chess, and meanwhile, I love collecting shells. I visit different seashores to collect shells. In that case, since that point, since I started collecting shells, and as my parents let me to do my my favorite hobbies, the interest developed when I was at the age 5. So when I was at the age 5, my father bought me an encyclopedia. It was the first time I had the opportunity to see an encyclopedia, because until that I was just reading small storybooks. So when I was given the encyclopedia, I wasn't able to read much because I was doing my first grade. I couldn't read much, but I was just seeing pictures, because encyclopedia is something where you have equal amount of pictures and wordings related to the same. Therefore, I was seeing pictures. When I stopped at one particular page where there was a big ammonite fossil preserved, I didn't know that it was a fossil, but I knew that it was some kind of marine organism that still lives in our ocean. As I said, since age 2, I've been collecting shells, so I know what exactly a shell would be like, and I can easily correlate it if there isn't any shell right in my hand. With just the pictures, I'll be able to correlate it if it's living or not. In that case, since I was too small and I did not know it's in the form of rocky structure, I concluded that it was just a normal shell. And as I said, if I say something new, I would have the curiosity. And I inquired my mother regarding the same, and she said, it isn't a shell as you think, or as you visit beaches periodically and collect shells. They aren't such kind of shells, rather fossils. And she too did not know much about it in detailed form to explain me further.
Sure.
She
Yeah.
said, I'll take you to Egmore Garment Museum. That's it. With that single sentence, the converse ended. Then, as she said, she took me to Egmore Garment Museum. Over there, I visited each department and finally entered the geology department. Over there, at the entrance, during those ages, at the entrance itself, the ammonite fossil would have had been displayed without any caged feature above it. So I was able to touch and feel the ammonite fossil. That is when I realized it is too heavy, rough in surface, and also stony in form. So then I came to know it isn't a true shell as my mother advised earlier. It was a fossil. So when I started following the path, and when I was doing my 5th grade, during the summer vacation, I came to know more about fossils, and I started pursuing it since I was aged 10. And now I'm aged 14 and I've collected 136 fossils.
Wonderful. So, which means it takes us back. I would like to, say this specifically for the audience who's listening to us. It all begins from curiosity. See, she's been saying this time and again. She has a very curious mind. And a lot of times, things make us curious, but we let it go. So I think let's take a little lesson here that when something makes us curious, let's try and pursue it, because that's where you reach. You have a living example who pursued curiosity to reach where she is today. So Asmita, what ahead? What are your career goals ahead now? What is your academic journey like? What are you planning? You're in class 9, and we can see that you are very passionate about what you're doing. So I assume you would like to stick to this route. So academically, what are you planning to do?
So first, I'd say the career route for the field of paleontology. So if we are ready to pursue the field of paleontology or not, we must decide it within the grade 10, because that's the only point where you're going to you're going to give a standard solution for your upcoming life, and you're going to decide everything there.
Yeah.
Therefore, at grade 10, once you decide I'm going to pursue the field of paleontology in the near future, in grade 11 and 12, you must take science group, because as we know, paleontology is a branch of science that comes under both biological and geological science. So there are sciences, just not the science that you read in your NCERT textbooks, biology, chemistry, physics. We have different sciences like geological sciences and biological sciences. In that case, paleontology comes under both biological and geological sciences. And the major thing we must know when it comes to paleontology is maths, physics, chemistry, and bio. So you can only focus on these four aspects if you take science group. And once you take science group, how would these subjects help you for the field of paleontology? When it comes to chemistry, you must know each and every element and compounding of an element, so that you'll be able to derive what kind of minerals and what kind of elements are inside these fossils. How did they turn to a fossil? What kind of chemicalization process did they undergo? Through which kind of mode will be able to decode its DNA, though it is fossilized and has less amount of carbon. We could estimate these on and only if we know chemistry. So without chemistry, paleontology cannot stand. Number two, biology. Biology is very, very important, because you're going to study about prehistoric animals that are no more in our earth. In that conditions, you must be able to visualize an organism's whole feature just by seeing its fossil remnant. Therefore, you must also know biology. You must also study biology. Under biology, in which conditions it would help us? If you're able to define an animal's body structure, it's very easy. Then you can describe what kind of climatical conditions were there millions of years ago when that particular organism was living, what kind of ecology was it. All these could be derived. And for calculation of the bone size, centimeters, and many more, you need maths and physics.
So are you suggesting, Aspita, that a student should take PCMB? Is this the suggestion, or are you saying it is better if the student has math also, but PCB is a must?
Ma'am, it is very must to pursue physics, chemistry, maths, and biology. It's completely yeah. After 11th and 12th, then you'll be entering college. When it comes to college, now you need MSc. So for MSc, paleontology we don't have an individual course called paleontology in our India. Therefore, we have to choose an allied manner to get into the field of paleontology. Allied choice is either the main course geology that comes which has an allied course for paleontology. You can either take geology or earth sciences with allied paleontology. That's one and only option we have. After this, once we have done with all these, to enter into Indian Science Institutes, where we have paleontology course as an allied form, we must clear certain entrance exams. Only for Indian institutes. For other universities that have paleontology course in an allied form, they have their own terms.
Examination.
For Indian institute, you should either clear JEE Mains, JEE Advanced, KVPY. Clearing any one of these entrance exams and having a good percentage will define your rank in Indian institutes. For example, if you're cleared KVPY and have entered in IISc Bangalore or IISER Kolkata or any other branches, they have nearly 7 branches. So if we get into any of these 7 branches, we'll get the access for labs of different laboratories at all kinds of Indian science institutes in our India. This is one such benefit. We must also understand that or central government, CG, are organizing such science entrance exams to attract students towards science courses. They are willing to make students understand that there are also science courses that can be pursued rather than just
Yes.
focusing on the common fields,
Yes.
medicine and
Yes, Shweta, I'd
engineering.
like to pick it up from there, Shweta. A lot of students ask us, ma'am, we want to take PCMB or we really like bio and maths both, but we don't want to be engineers or doctors. So what is it for us? So I think it's a very important message that you're giving out. But at the same time, because it's a newer field for people, because it's still less explored, less traveled, I'd like to understand a very personal opinion of yours here. What do you think? Do you think it's a very lucrative career when it comes to India as a country, especially? And when I say the word lucrative, let's be very honest. People want to know what are the earnings that are going to come out of it. So, what is your opinion there?
Ma'am, for this question, I'll give only my opinion and not any other opinions, because personally, I think if we are too passionate towards the field of paleontology, we won't analyze, we won't determine that paleontology is a lucrative career. We can get more money through that. That is what we don't. If we are too passionate, we won't think about such conditions. But absolutely, it's right. Paleontology is a lucrative career that can be pursued only with passion. If we have true passion towards the field and if we pursue it in their own near future, they won't have time to sit and count their fingers on how many digit salary are we getting every month. So this is one point. And even my mentors, my senior mentors, who are paleontologists and geologists, they suggest me, if you're really too passionate towards the field of paleontology, then pursue it. If it's just an hobby, please don't get into it, because with passion, if you study the field of paleontology, it's a different angle. It's very interesting. You'll be able to decode many more informations than you just think. But if we take it as a hobby, oh, this is just a work. If we do this, we'll get this. With such an understanding, if we pursue, it isn't possible. Therefore,
So, my understanding of what you're trying to say here is that let's be very honest here. We may not have a very lucrative career in terms of returns when it comes to monetary returns. But yes, if you're passionate, if it's your hobby, if you love traveling, you love nature, you love exploring all this, then of course this could be a very promising field for you. And we really hope that in coming times, the amount of hard work that the paleontologists are putting, people recognize that and the monetary flow also starts getting better. So we can at least hope for that. With this, yes,
point. I'll
yes.
just add one more point. As I said, paleontology is a lucrative career, but I may not be able to define the earnings, because that is my pure opinion. With passion, we won't count the earnings. But let me give the list of job opportunities if we pursue the field of paleontology. First and foremost job is you get to be a lecturer or professor who would share their knowledge in the field of paleontology to the students. Number one. Number two, you will get the opportunity as museum curators for the paleontology division, and you can also store fossils and
Right.
archives there. Number three, you will get the job to survey for map, because we have different fossil sites around the world. If we don't map it, we won't be able to sketch it for the other. If this is the era of youngsters presently, and if we grow up, the next generation, they must also know there are fossil sites in and around these regions. For such conditions, we need map, and paleontologists are official people who could do that. So that is the third job opportunity. Fourth, if we have completed our studies in micropaleontology, we would get opportunities in petroleum industry, because microbes or microorganisms living in the ocean near the greatest, deepest zone determines the wealth of petroleum over there. So this is the other opportunity. And the most funny part or the most interesting part in the field paleontology is you get to portray certain organisms features for movies and animated series. Like recently we had Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, we have such kind of movies. And for Jurassic World, author of The Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs, I hope you could see the book. Authors of The Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs, Steve Brusatte sir, helped the crew of Jurassic World movie
Wonderful.
to portray the dinosaur features. But as I said, he just helped in portraying it, but he did not define that this is the kind of sound animals made millions of years ago, like the dinosaur. He did not define such kinds, but he helped people, the crew members, to give the portrayal for such kind of organisms to make the improvement in the movie. And secondly, you get the opportunity to be a paleo artist. Art is a form through which any kind of field could be taken to greater heights. In such conditions, a paleo artist play a vital role to define ecology and the structure of each organisms. This may lead to understanding of the same organism and the ecology in much more detailed form. So if we get into any such career, it is a lucrative form. It would be in a lucrative form, but it helps in various aspects in our present world.
I think very clearly explained, and it opens up the minds. And we raised a question saying that maybe it's less lucrative, but I think Aspita has done a very, very good job in telling you the various opportunities and how your passion can actually round it all up for you. Aspita, since you showed us a book on dinosaurs and we spoke about it, what is dinosaur tourism? And do you think India has scope for it or potential for dinosaur tourism?
So rather than saying the potential for dinosaur tourism, I can bring a new concept. Dinosaurs, as we all know, raises the curiosity of young children till the adult. So dinosaurs have become one of the major model for inspiring kids to just by means of their objects, but still kids don't know that there is a field called paleontology that especially deals about dinosaurs. In that case, we must understand that dinosaurs are organisms that lived millions of years ago, which doesn't mean that they were the only organism that lived on our earth. There were millions and millions of other kind of flora
True.
and fauna. Dinosaurs were one such prominent organism that occupied the terrestrial region. As we all know, the giant organism that lived in a terrestrial region, starting from the Mesozoic era, that evolved from small organism to the big, were dinosaurs. But we don't know how important it is to also know dinosaurs and define our Earth's present condition and near future condition. In that case, I'll also introduce you to another book called Dinosaurs of India, written by Ashok Sakhni sir. Dr. Ashok Sakhni sir is an great paleontologist in our India. So sir, in this book mentions various kinds of dinosaur fossils found and unearthed from our India. We would also come to know how we define the height, weight, and the body length of dinosaurs in different aspects with the fossils as a reference. This is a separate field. But everywhere, if we go to a local park and if we in any toy shop or mall, everywhere, all around us, you could just see dinosaurs. But
Right.
what kind of form? In what form? It is just a mere visualization, but it isn't accurate. Our visualization isn't accurate, but we think dinosaurs were in orange color, green color. We have different primary colors for these dinosaurs, but we don't know exactly what color in what color did they exist, or we rather know what kind of skin type they were covered with, or did they have completely fur on their body, or when they evolved to have fur or any other structures. But still, we predict that they have fur starting from their evolution. Until the evolution, they had fur and spines all over their body, but that isn't true. If we come and see for fossils and fossil evidences, define the evolution of dinosaurs step by step and finally stops at one point. The last stage of the evolution only has fur on its body. That is not for all kinds of dinosaurs, only for theropod dinosaurs. In that case, developing dinosaur tourism in India wouldn't create a great awareness towards the field paleontology, but create a maze around people's mind. It won't carry the true information to youngsters, since young age is the only age that through which you could completely file up your brain. Stuffing unknown and unimportant facts would lead to disaster. In that case, rather than bringing dinosaur tourism, we could cover various aspects of paleontological resources like invertebrates. When I come to such a condition, there are very less sources depicting the life and kind of ecology where organisms lived millions of years ago. And the places, if you compare a dinosaur tourism region and a normal museum with all kinds of animals and depicted scenery of each period in a geological timeline, the second option is always best. Just seeing dinosaurs here, that shouting, walking, that would make us very bored. For maybe some people, it might be interesting if they are too interested to note down what are dinosaurs. But people who are interested in various kinds of aspects, it would be really less, less knowledgeable. Therefore, I say, but rather than of the potential of dinosaur tourism, you must understand what is exactly a dinosaur, how were they living, how to portray it in a true form, and we must also think about its prominence, its kind of survival, and we must also think about other organisms. So just focusing on dinosaur doesn't fully wrap up the field paleontology. This is my point of view.
I think you've put in a lot of, thrown a lot of light on everything that, we should know around paleontology, where it should begin and how we should, deal with the different aspects. But before, we almost conclude the interview, Asmita, what do you think are the pros and the cons of picking this up as a career in India specifically? What do you think are the highlights and the things that can prove as cons for students who are going to go ahead with this career?
So when it comes to pros and cons, I see there isn't any negative side for paleontology. The best area of studying is paleontology. If you take paleontology and start studying it, you won't find any negative side or side effects reading it. Rather, you will find it interesting step by step. Because when you start studying about fossils, you may just have a collective amount of knowledge. But when you start getting involved in it a lot more, you start uncovering truth hidden within one particular fossil. In that condition, I would say paleontology is the field which has greatest advantages compared to others. And there is no negative side to be said here for the field of paleontology. Because let's take, for example, a big banyan tree. Banyan tree has deep roots inside the soil, and we also have prop roots. So as I said, paleontology have different branches, and in different branches, we come to know different aspects and different things. Therefore, I would also like to put another point. Presently, we talk about global warming. We must plant at least one sapling every month or every day near our home, near our surrounding. We must save water. Certain regions have very less water and they are thriving for water. So how did we get to know all these info? When did the term water be described? When did we come to know there is global warming in our earth? When did we define our surrounding as environment? All these were possible until and unless the field paleontology isn't brought to light. These things aren't possible because, as I said, fossils determine the past conditions. So through past condition, you'll be able to link the present condition. When you link both the conditions, you'll be able to differentiate, and you'll even be able to correlate to different situations. The best example is millions and millions of years ago, these dinosaurs were too prominent. in terrestrial region. And when it comes to marine region, certain invertebrates and marine reptiles were too dominant. What happened to these dominant creatures? Did they continue thriving till the date? Absolutely not. So in that condition, when an organism is too prominent and not suitable for adapting to its surrounding by giving a space for the other fellow organism, then it is absolutely not required to have the organism forever in the earth. So nature just removes it through evolution. The evolution cannot be done all of a sudden. It happens slowly. In that condition, when an evolution takes place, mass extinction too takes place. So all these dinosaurs and other prominent organisms of Mesozoic era completely vanished away by the end of the Mesozoic era during the Cretaceous period through the fifth mass extinction. And now, continuing the same timeline, we have the human civilization, the humans' prominence presently, and humans come under the sixth mass extinction. We are presently undergoing sixth mass extinction. In that condition, as I said, these are two events that can be correlated. Dinosaurs were dominant, they faced the mass extinction, and certain species completely vanished, and others like the theropod dinosaurs evolved to be a dinosaur. In what could be human situation? If we continue being too prominent, we would either, certain groups of humans would either get vanished, or there are chances for our evolution. So for understanding these things, we need paleontology, and paleontology helps in our day-to-day life. Paleontology is the only field that can connect various aspects like the history, geography, all can be collected and connected with paleontology. Paleontology.
So, Aswatha, picking it up from here, can a geography student not pursue this as well? I think we've lost you. Can you say that again, please?
Okay, ma'am, could you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Geography is a part. Geography helps you to understand the ecology that you would obviously study in geology. But you can't say a geology student who just, a geography student who just knows about geography cannot enter, because you also need chemistry, physics, and math.
Yes. I asked you this because there's an audience question around this. Somebody wanted to know. But at the same time, I also believe, yes, though we have spoken that a combination of PCMB is very good to take up paleontology further. But I also feel that PCB and PCM are both entry points at the same time to the career as per my information. So I'm going to conclude this interview, Aswatha, with just one last question to you. Who is your role model? Because you've started early, and this is one field where we don't know too many people. We'd really like to know, who is that one person that really inspires you here in this field?
Yes, ma'am, I would like to answer this question. The thing is, when I started learning about the field of paleontology, or when I entered the field of paleontology, I had no role model. I did not know much about people during that time, or I had very less knowledge of who were studying the field of paleontology and who liked and who will pursue it in the earlier times. So until that, I did not know. But when I started taking some more baby steps, I came to know official people who were willing to upbring the field of paleontology itself. Because, as I said, it is commonly a dry subject, but the way of transporting it in a content depends. So people were willing to do such kind of things, and the human who wished to do such kind of thing was Mary Anning. She is a woman who lived in Lyme Regis. She was very young, although she was one among many child in their family. Her brother and Mary Anning just survived. Though they came from a poor background, they weren't able to afford much. They had the curiosity and the interest towards each subject, and one such subject was paleontology. She and her father wanted to make his children, Mary Anning and her brother, to understand the fossils, because they lived near Lyme Regis coast, the sea coast. And when you go for abroad, you have barren lands where fossils are preserved, and near the sea coast, two fossils are preserved. So land bridges plays a vital role in preservation of Jurassic Coast fossils. She unearthed Ichthyosaur, Pterosaur, all these fossils were unearthed by Mary Anning herself. So how did she turn out to be in such a position? She liked the field paleontology. She was the one who introduced sketching, because sketching plays a vital role. If you aren't able to depict what you have collected, you won't know how an organism existed. Skeletal remains are something the backbone of each organism's flesh. If there is skeletal remains, you'll be able to cover it with flesh. So such kind of things were brought, such kind of ideas were brought by Mary Anning.
But Nafisa, you have a role model in place, and I don't know if you've realized, but you must be a role model to so many right now with the clarity and passion that you show, Aswata. And it has been very heartwarming to hear you see the level of clarity at your age, and the audience who are listening to us, who are watching us today. I'd also like you to know that she's not just a young paleontologist, but also a very, very good student back at school. I've heard she's doing exceptionally well at school. She's blogging. She's running her museum. She does comic strips like we have introduced in the beginning, where she wants to educate other children about, or the youth about this particular field. So pure passion in place, and this is where it leads you at the age of, I think, 14 or 15, a very tender age, where she's in class 9 and doing so much in this field. So I'm at a lack of time here, because this is a 30-minute interview and we've already crossed the time. Any quick audience questions that anybody would like to ask us on Facebook or here, we'll be very happy to pick it up. Otherwise, we are going to wind this up with a promise to come back with another expert in the next episode with a very rare, unconventional career opportunity that you may have only heard about or may not have even heard about. Aswata, we'll give it back to you for your closing remarks very quickly. And meanwhile, if there's a question, I'll pass it on to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I'll just add a few more points for the last question and wrap up with a thank you, with a thank note. So as I said, Mary Anning is termed to be the mother of the field paleontology, as she had done she led many efforts towards the field paleontology, as women were not appreciated earlier during the past times of our human civilization. It wasn't considered. Therefore, people did not come to know paleontology as a field. But later, after her death, everyone started organizing themselves, even accepting the field of paleontology, accepting the mode. Mary Anning wanted to take the field of paleontology towards young children and many other scientists, because even they did not know much about the field of paleontology during that time. Because Mary Anning was the one to define it as a marine reptile. They had such kind of patterns, so they are termed to be a marine reptile. But those researchers weren't able to do, because they thought their organisms looking like sea monsters. How could they be preserved? All their ideas were depending upon fiction. Therefore, Mary Anning is considered to be the mother of the field of paleontology, and there are many more other role models existing today, finishing their science courses in India, and doing many more beautiful researchers and unknown researchers, ma'am. I would like to render my sincere thanks to the team for organizing such an event. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Aswata, for coming and throwing light on all this. I think it's become very, even more interesting, because your passion has got added to everything. And I think that is the highest or the biggest takeaway that we have for everybody who's watching you at any age, that when you put your heart and soul, or heart and mind to something, I think this is where you reach. We wish you good luck from Team Career Launcher, and we bless you and expect that we see you in flying colors, which we are very sure you will achieve as a young paleontologist. You're already doing wonders. Thank you everybody for your patience, your time and interaction. We will be back soon with the next episode in a couple of days. This is Neha Wahi signing on behalf of Career Launcher. Thank you, Aswata. Thank you, Team Career Launcher and the technology team for organizing this. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening ahead.